Hey, welcome to Pebble Tile Installation. My name is Matt Sealing of Ceilings Floors, and we're going to show you how to tile with Pebble Tile. We're not just going to kind of glaze over it and say do this, do that, but we're actually going to show you how to do it. So forget about all that other stuff on the internet. This one is the one you'll need to do it well, to do it right, and looking forward to working with you. Alright, let's just talk about a little bit about Pebble Tile. This one here is called a polished white snowball. The good thing is you don't have to get this one, you can get hundreds of different styles. There are so many kinds. There's polished, there's tumbled, flat, you name it, pretty much you got it. Colors, it's basically Mother Nature at its best. And the good thing about Pebble Tile is you can use it indoors, outdoors, you can use it on the floor, you can use it on the wall, you can really, pretty much anything goes with it. You can polish it to make it, if you don't like the color, you can make it brighter. There's just a lot of great things about it. I guess the other great things is eco-friendly, obviously. It's natural resources and you can get great colors, great styles. But why don't we just jump into it and we will talk more about how to install. That being said, if you want to do it on the floor, if you want to tile, Pebble Tile on the floor, sorry, I got a friend along here, you can you want to make sure that your floor is stable. So we don't talk about how to make a floor stable in this video, but I have videos on how to do floor tile installation. So you want to prep your floor properly, and in order to do that, you want to make sure you're trained properly. So if you visit ceilingsfloors.com, and it'll be on the screen there for you, you can go and check out all you need. You can get books, videos, I can do one-on-one training with you. I do tile installations as well, so if you're in the area, I live in Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, so I don't know if you're around there, but you can give me a call, I can come in and help you out that way as well. Alright, well, let's get started. So now let's talk about the tools that you're going to need. There's really not that many, and a lot of them you might actually have at home. If not, though, make sure you go out and get pretty good ones. You don't need the high-end stuff, you just need ones that work well. And really, you can get them a lot of places these days, your general hardware stores or anything like that. Alright, let's get started with what you need. Start with a knife, just a simple knife, tape measure obviously. You need tile nippers, and these are to break the tile. If you don't want to use these, you can also use an angle grinder or a wet tile saw. That works even better. These are faster and easier, and usually you end up just caulking the lines anyways because they don't give as straight of a cut. You need, if you're using an angle grinder, hearing protection, very important, as well as eye protection. Your trowel, so this is a V-notch trowel, 3/16 V-notch, and that's what you use mastic pre-mixed mortar, and that's what you do for a backsplash. If you're doing somewhere like a shower, anywhere where there's a lot of water, you definitely don't want to use that. You want to use a mortar. Best way to explain it is you have to mix it. It's a cement based, and it'll stay hard no matter what. It's very important, and you want to use different tools for that, but I get into that in my videos if you want to go that route. Here's the pre-mixed mortar. There's all kinds of different types. This one's called Flex Tile, but it's just basically ready to go. Pop the lid off, and you'll see it go from there. And you need a grout float when you're laying the tile as well as when you're doing your grouting. You need a bucket, as you can see here, and a sponge. And we'll get into all that why later on. You'll want some gloves, especially when you're using a sealer, and paint tray as well as a paint roller. Now you don't have to seal your tile before you put it on. You don't have to seal it at all if you don't want to. That's up to you. So this is up to you whether or not you want to do it. I also have, just as an extra tool, this is called a 6-in-1 tool. It's great for prying tiles off if you're not quite happy with how they go. It's a great little tool to use. I would recommend it highly. Alright, so that is all the tools you need. For materials, you need a sealer. What kind you use is up to you, and whether or not you want to bring out the shine or just seal the grout in the tile. You do what's best. You can ask me, and I'll help you out there too. All right, let's move on to the layout. We're going to talk about how to properly lay out the tile. So we have to make sure that all our lines are straight and ready to go. Now here we have the tile again, and what we're going to do is we're going to start on the left side of the sink. You can start wherever you want, but I would always start on the outside and work my way in, and we'll get into why later. But you want to usually line it up with the edge of the sink, looks best. And so you mark up the wall and across. I'm going to go 12 inches up, the same length as the tile, and all the way to the corner and out to the other side. So unfortunately these things are really heavy, so it's really hard to do what I like to call dry fitting. Usually I like to put tiles up and mark just to see where I'm at, but in this case you really don't need to. It's pretty easy to work with pebble tile. It's another great thing about it. You don't have to be that precise because there are big gaps, and it is, I guess, in a way an imperfect tile because it's not, everything's not exactly the same and perfect, but that's the look you want. That's what makes it so great. So I'm going to mark up here and then go across and do the same to the other side. That way I know where to spread my mortar so I don't go too far up and have it messy everywhere. If you want, you can also use what's called transition pieces or profiles. And so what I did here was I cut the top off. This is to be attached right here. And I cut it off so that now I have a nice flat top for the top edge. So you could also take a metal piece, and as you tile, you'd put this on the wall and tuck it underneath. So it changes the look. So it's up to you and how you do it. I'm just going to go straight without any profiles or anything. I like that natural rustic look. So here we go. Take your, I'm sorry about the noise. Take your level. You want everything as level as possible. Makes it look a lot nicer. So you'd mark down. So then measure up, mark across, and then do the same to the other side. And that's pretty much all there is to layout. Not a big deal. And when you go to start laying the tile, you'll actually be piecing things in, and we'll talk about that soon. So what you want to do is set aside one tile for piecing in, because the way Pebble works, you can't, you have to sometimes just squeeze parts in, and like I said, we'll talk about that. Alright, here we go. Alright, so here we're going to talk about sealing the tile. So using sealer to cover the tile so that it's more waterproof. Now this is a step that you actually can skip if you want. Personally, I don't do this just because I find I'm fine with the grout afterwards, because what it does is one, it seals the pebble tiles so that you have a little bit better of a waterproof, as well as when you're doing grouting, the grout will slide up over the sealer. It won't stick to the grout, stick to the pebble. But I'm used to it, so I don't really actually bother doing this. You might want to, just to ease things. So the other reason to seal the pebble tile is if you don't want the grout to go into the cracks of the pebble. Some of the pebbles have divots and holes and all natural things, but if you want to make sure the grout does not go in there, then if you seal it beforehand, then it won't. So in the end, the look is up to you. Do you want the grout to stand out inside the pebble, or do you just want to have the grout in only the grout lines? So once again, it's up to you. I don't know if you can see real good the cracks that I'm talking about, but you'll see them when you get them. They look really nice. Seal or to not to seal, it's up to you. So all you do is you take the sealer. I'm not going to do it for you just because I'm not going to do it on here. But all you do is you take the sealer, pour it in, whatever type you want, and just like paint, take a roller, roll it out, and make sure you get this good and squeezed out. Don't have any drips or anything, because that can cause problems. Take the roller, roll it on top of your pebble tile, and as you can see here, all I use is a box, piece of wood. Don't do fancy things. You really don't need to do things up. Just find whatever you have kicking around. This is the box that I bought, that I got the pebble tile from Big Sky, and then I took a piece of wood, put it on top, and there you go. So when you roll this on, just do it nice and light and just get the tops, and you're done. Let it sit for 1 hour, and then you're ready to go. Alright, that's it. Now let's move on to installation on how to put it on the wall. Alright, so let's do some install. Now all you do is you take your mortar, and obviously open up the can, you scoop it out. It's really sticky, so you don't have to worry about it dripping everywhere, and you put it on the wall. Now you want to spread it out before you start getting fancy with it, because you want it to adhere to the wall, stick really well. You don't just want to put it on and call it good. You want to really make sure you rub it in so it really sticks well. So as you can see, once you do that, then once you stick it on, then you take your trowel, put it at a 45, and rub down. And there you have your marks ready to go for sticking the towel to it. So when I'm rubbing it in, it's called keying in. So it's keying into the wall, and then when you're ready to do the joints, do the lines, you simply hold it at a 45 and go down or across in case of here. So you notice I'm keeping within the lines because you don't want it sticking out everywhere, just because you will see it if you go too far. So just be careful of that, keep it within the lines. I'll do one side first and then I'll tile it, and then I'll do the other side and tile it. You don't want to go too far ahead of yourself because the stuff will dry if left too long. So good little thing to remember. Alright, I'll get that already and then we'll get into installing it on the wall. So here we are, ready to go. We got the first wall covered in the mastic premix mortar, and I had already cut this tile flat, so I'm going to put it right here and stick it onto the wall. So get it nice and level with your lines. Stick it in. Once you're happy with it, take your grout float. Take your grout float here and push the pebble tile in to the wall. This is a really great way to do it because you make it so much flatter as opposed to using your hand. And take your next tile, and you'll notice that they have notches on the top, sticks out, in, out, in. That is so that they hook together and look, it doesn't have a seam, because if you had big square, 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 you'd see that line every time. But they, at Big Sky there, they make sure you don't have that. So what I'm going to do is cut this top off. You flip it over, and as you can see, real easy, cut the backing, and there you have it. So I'm going to take this tile, and I'm going to put it in to the next one. Here. This is probably the most challenging part, is just holding it properly. There you go, and in like that. Now if you do get any on the tile, not a big deal, simply wipe it off, and there you have it. It won't hurt your hands, so don't worry. If you want to wear gloves, you can. But there you go, just go all the way across, and then you're ready to work on the next wall. Once you have that done, then you let it sit for 24 hours, and you do grouting. So I'm just going to finish up here. Now, I also want to talk about piecing in. So you notice that there's some gaps here. So I take parts like this, and I could piece it into here, or over there, or down there. Now if these are too big, then I'll find, remember that tile I talked about leaving aside? You take and cut off smaller pieces and stick it in, then you'll have a nice seamless wall. And that's the best way to go about it, and you're ready to go. When you get to the end here, you cut these with either the tile nipper or the angle grinder, and you're done. Alright, so here we are, finished our installation. As you can see, I did a bit of a step down on the side here. It's just something I've decided to do. You can do it however you want, because I just followed the profile of the countertop. The other reason for that was actually it makes life easier, because everything's a foot by a foot when it comes to the square of the pebble tile, so I didn't have to add any strip along the top. I just put it in, but do it however works for you. I really like that look. And as I said before, I didn't go with the metal transition on our profile on top or on the sides. I just left it open. So when I do my grouting, I'll just kind of bring the grout over, and then if I need to do caulking, I can do that in the corner or not. If you do cuts in the corner, caulking is a good way to finish it. But as you can see, I just put the whole pieces in. I didn't do any of that. And yeah, so you really don't need any cutting tools if you don't want to. You can just piece it in. I cut smaller pieces of pebble out of other sheets and just made it work well. When you cut out pieces, you want to leave the backing on it. You don't want to rip off the backing, because when you embed it, it's the backing that's held to the pebble that really does the holding power, because the back of the pebble isn't exactly flat, it's kind of curved, so the mesh really helps to hold it. And that's what I did everywhere. I just pieced in. You can't even tell where I did and where it's whole, because it just really works well with pebbles. But after this, we wait 24 hours, and then we get to grout, and the grouting will just finish it off real nice. All we need to do is get our grout float, grout sponge, our mixing bucket, and our grout. And pretty much that's all there is to getting ready for grouting. You make sure you pick a color that you like. Don't necessarily pick what looks good in the store. Make sure you take some tile with you when you go to the store, because the pebble will look different in your mind than when you're there. And you want to pick the color that just kind of either brings out the pebble tile. So if I go with a darker, in this case, it would bring out the pebble tile. Or if I go with a lighter, like I did here, it's a bone color, and make sure it's sanded, not unsanded, sanded. Then it'll all just kind of blend in and just make one nice full finish. And this is totally up to you and what color you go with. The lighter it is, the more chance of staining, but I mean if you seal it, that's not a problem. And the darker it is, like I said, the more the tile will stand out. So, all you do is you put some water in the bucket. Make sure you read the manufacturer instructions how to do it. Most of the time you put water in the bucket, and then you put the grout into the water. Now it shows you how to do it with a full bucket. You won't need to mix a full bucket of grout. So what I do, just to make life easier, is start with 1 cup of water and 3 cups of grout. Now that is a rough estimate. Don't stick to that, only that, because it depends on your humidity and that kind of thing. But I put some water into the bucket, and now I'm just going to pour the grout into the bucket. And it is a bit dusty, so be careful where you're doing it. Good ventilation, that kind of thing. Now it'll seem like a lot when you're putting it in, but to make it simple, this really eats up a lot of grout. Like there's a big grout spaces in there, so you do need a fair bit. Normally a small amount goes a long way, but with this you need a fair bit of grout. Now you do is you mix the grout up. See if I can show it to you here. You can use a power mixer, but the problem with that is that the power will actually cause air bubbles. So doing it by hand is actually better in this case. I won't do the whole thing for it in front of you, because it's a little boring. So once you do that, you mix it. You let it sit like it tells you, usually 5 or 10 minutes. You remix it, and then you're ready to go. We'll get back to that in a minute. Alright, so we waited about 5 minutes, and we remixed the grout. So make sure you do that second remix with the wait in between. It's very important, so it allows the water and the grout to come together and do its things, its chemical things and whatnot. So the consistency is somewhere around what they say trowelable. And it's hard to show on camera, but you basically want to be able to scoop it up without it just going, but you don't want it to be so dry that when you scoop it up and try and shove it in, it's going to be really hard to pack in. So you want it somewhere in between that point there. So, forgot to mention as well, before you do this, and when you're waiting, you have nothing to do, so you take your grout sponge, wet it, and just wipe your tile. It's to clean it off and then to give it a surface so that it's ready to grout. It just slides along easier. So remember to do that before you grout. So here we go. Just going to do a little bit here. So scoop it up. Now another thing it is, I put a towel down just to cover it up. You are going to slop here and there, but grout doesn't really stain, so I wouldn't worry about it. Unless you have like marble or granite, then you really want to be careful, and I would tape it off and just be really careful with them. But just regular sinks should be just fine to cover it up with a simple towel. Okay, so you jam it in. So as you can see, some grout's falling, but don't worry about it. You just basically push it in. You don't have to be fancy here, because all you're doing is getting it into the grout line. So you can see it looks, not that great right now. But don't worry about that, because later on we will make it look a whole lot better. So continue doing that all the way down. Now I would start with one wall first, and then by the time you finish that, you're ready to do the next step, which is once it's dried a little bit, you take a stiff brush like this, and you scrub the lines because you wanna get that grout down a little bit. And right now it's like right out, and as you can see, the pebbles almost disappear. We don't want that. So if you do one wall first, and it gives you time just to get used to it, unless you're ready to go. If you're done within 20 to 30 minutes, you can probably do the whole thing and then do it after. But to start, just be careful you don't get ahead of yourself. Alright, so that's all there is to it. I'm going to finish up. I'm going to grout all of it, and then we'll come back and I'll show you what to do with that stiff brush. Alright, I'm actually going to show you another quick little tip that most people wouldn't dare to tell because it just seems too messy, too yucky. If it does seem too messy to you or whatever, just put on some gloves, those rubber latex gloves, and it won't be so bad. Because this stuff does dry your skin out a little bit, so you want to be careful about that. So as you can see, I finished most of it, but what I want to show you right now is I left an area that the grout float can only get so much. And it leaves quite a bit of grout there. Now this tip also works that if you're starting to run out of grout, because it uses a lot of grout. This actually I used a whole bucket of grout for this small area. And the bucket isn't big, it isn't small I should say, it's only 4 kilos, 8.8 pounds. And that's it. That's a lot. So if you figure on the square footage, you need a lot of these, or to buy a big bag, depending on what kind you buy, that might be the best way to go. So if you go with a bigger area, make sure you get enough grout, because it's really hard to say X amount of grout for X amount because of the gap differences in all the different pebble tile. But I guess you could say 8.8 pounds for about 5 square feet, so lots. Alright, so what you want to do in this case is if, like I said, you're running out or you just want to get this cleaner before you do the next step, take your hand and wipe it along. So you can see that I'm scooping a whole lot of grout here.